Spam complaints and bounces can really harm your reputation if you keep sending to those addresses. That's why for a long time now, Resend has suppressed those kind of behind the scenes. But today, we're giving you the tools to add and remove items from your own suppression list. I want to show you how it works. You ready? Let's go. Hey, Chris from Resend here. Okay, so what exactly are suppressions? Well, when you hard bounce an email or somebody marks your email as spam, we intentionally skip sending until you take it off of your team's suppression list. In fact, you can see your suppression list if you come into the emails tab and click right here, suppression list. Now, I happen to have nothing on here currently, but there are basically 3 ways to add an email to a suppression list. 2 happen automatically and 1 you can do yourself. So let's look here at the CLI and you'll see I have this batch file. And if I go ahead and send it, it sends out several emails. Now, if I jump back into the suppression list here, you'll notice that a few things have been added. I have a complaint and a bounce. Now, why are these showing up? Well, like I mentioned, the first 2 ways to get something into the suppression list is for it to happen automatically. We're using simulated addresses for complaints and for bounces. And so they're showing up here as a complaint and as a bounce. Those are the first 2 ways for this to happen. So anytime an email hard bounces or it's complained, somebody marks it as spam, we automatically add it to your suppression list. And you can actually see that in the email as well. In fact, if I jump over here, you'll see I've got this bounced address right here. This is showing what's happening, the status. It tells you why it was bounced. And you can even, if it's a legitimate one, remove it from the suppression list directly from here. All right, so the first 2 ways are automatic. Once again, we do that to protect your reputation, but you can also manually add them. So I can come over here and manually add one. So let's say something like chris@resend.com, and I want to add this to the suppression list. This means it will skip sending anytime I send to chris@resend.com, whether it's from the API, from a broadcast, using a template, doesn't really matter, across any domain on my team. So here you can see we've got manual, complained, and bounce. And I can again simulate that if I want to. So now using the CLI, I can send along this suppress me, I dare you, and it says it sent the email. Now, if I were to actually go check my email tab over here, you'll notice that it says suppressed, which means it never actually sent the email. It's on my suppression list, so we check that first before we send out any email. Now, again, this happens with broadcast as well. Before we send anything out, we check to make sure that an email is not on your team's suppression list. Now, when would you want to manually add a suppression? Well, usually it's when you're coming from another system. So if you've got a whole suppression list already, you can actually come over here and add a bunch all at the same time using Import CSV. So I'm going to grab this right here. We'll just import this suppression list that has a ton of emails on it. And you'll see I can import it. And we grab all these and add them directly to your suppression list. So here I've added several thousand automatically. We can see that they're all manually added. So all of these have now been added to my suppression list. This is typically what happens when you move over again from another system. Now, I've mentioned a few times that you can remove people from the suppression list. Now, you should only do this once you know that whatever the underlying cause was has been taken care of. So if it's hard bounced and you remove them, the next time you send it will hard bounce again, and that damages your reputation. But let's say, for instance, that there is an example. So let's say I say to chris@resend.com, I say this one really should not be on the suppression list. Well, I can remove this right here from the suppression list, and I can, of course, do this from the API, MCP, CLI, wherever I want to. Now, if I come back over here, we resend that email. This email should now go through. And I can see that if I come back to the emails tab and look at this, it's been delivered now. So as soon as you take it off the suppression list, now it will send again. And if the underlying cause has been taken care of, it will actually be delivered to that person. Now you can already see here that I can see all of my suppressions right here if I want to, but I can also use the CLI, the MCP, anything else I want to, an SDK to see all of my suppressions. So for instance, in the CLI, if I just do resend suppressions, it lists off all of them. You'll notice though that it's paginated. So to get them all, I'd have to continually do this in my code. But I can actually see them all programmatically, or I can fetch individual ones by using their ID or their email address. Finally, let's talk about webhooks and observability. Now here, when I'm adding a new webhook, you have this email.suppressed event. Now all this means is when you go to send an email, if it's suppressed, so not sent, you get this webhook firing off. So that's helpful, but it doesn't actually tell you when stuff comes on or removes itself from the suppression list. But here with the new addition of whenever I add or remove an item from the suppression list, I can now receive an actual webhook event. So what this means is that I can respond to this in real time. Now, when would you ever use something like this? Well, at the very least, you would use it to keep your data in sync with what Resend is actually doing. At scale, let's say you're sending thousands of emails that are all going to be suppressed because they're on your suppression list. You don't know it, so all of your calls from your application are including all of these email addresses that will never go out. Well, you want to sync those up so that you're not sending along a bunch of calls that will never actually end up going out. And vice versa, when you remove somebody from a suppression list, you want to make sure that you can then add them back to receive those emails. So syncing your data is just one of these use cases that this webhook can really help you do in real time. Of course, I should mention this is an advanced feature. You don't want to just be adding people to your suppression list or removing them without thinking about it. You have to do so intentionally. But hopefully these tools give you the power to do that for your team. Again, this is across all domains and across all kinds of sending on your account. Thanks so much. We'll catch you in the next one. Happy email.